Hey, hi, hello, friends. So today our guest is Allyn. Allyn is a self-taught customer turned professional craftsperson working in theater in the DC metro area. They are passionate about bringing visibility to all kinds of aromantic and asexual identities and relationships. They happily cohabitate with their partner, Vaughn, he, they, and little brother, Ezra, they, he, and two affectionate tappies, Beans and Jenny. We had such a great chat talking about how being AroAce shapes the way you approach all types of relationships, and then adding the neurodivergence on top of that. How being raised evangelical stunts your own understanding because of what we were taught, and a whole bunch of other things. This chat had us thinking for days after, and we hope you enjoy listening to our conversation as much as we had having it. Welcome to Season 7 of the Queer Consciousness Podcast. I'm Kit Sargent, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Jess Grace Garcia, and my pronouns are they, them. We're just humans wanting to share the lived experience of other humans.
This season, we're talking about all things sex. We want to have deep, heart-led conversations as we unpack what sex means to us and why it's so important to talk about it.
This is a season of unlearning, relearning, and sharing about a topic that is still considered taboo.
Because at the end of the day, we are all spiritual, sexual beings having a human experience, walking each other home.
Allyn, welcome to Queer Consciousness.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat with y'all.
I'm excited, mainly because you are yet another person that Jess was the one that reached out and said, "Hi, would you like to be on our podcast?" And I went, "Yes, new friend. Can you come talk to us? Because I don't know you." You're so autistic sometimes, and it's so cute.
Wow.
I love it. I have a lot of friends, and Allyn is one of them, and we never got to collaborate when we wanted to collaborate on something.
Yeah.
So I was this is adjacent to what we wanted to talk about.
A little bit, yeah, for sure. I mean, that the initial thing we talked about, I would also still love to do at a point
That's
in
true.
time.
Do you remember what the title was to what we had been wanting to do? I went all the way back in our little conversation.
I would have to go back.
It was something to do with being Aro, Ace, and Polly.
Yeah. Basically, talking about the intersection of those two identities and a lot of the commonality that you have in terms when it comes to breaking down relationship standards and intimacy standards and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think you're a great fit because really the only person that I've had that I've been able to reference to who has that identity is my wife Erica. So although it's very personal and very much a part of our system, it's nice to have some other examples and perspectives. But I'm so excited you said yes and thankful that you're here, friend.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's talk.
All right, so we're just going to start where we always do with, what does sex mean to you?
I have been trying to think of how to answer this question. I think since Jess reached out to me because as an ACE person, the immediate answer that comes to mind is not much.
Fair. Absolutely fair.
It seems so adjacent to, I guess, my understanding of myself, my growth as a person, almost like an accessory, but not so much something that I prioritize or have ever prioritized in my relationships. I think in particular, I have only really been sexually intimate with my partner, Vaughn, who is the person that I'm with now and the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And in that aspect of our relationship was more, I think, exploratory for the two of us. For me, certainly. It was more just a curiosity of what is sex? What is it about this experience that makes it so interesting or vital for people to have? And I've told Vaughn this, so I don't care about telling you guys this, but like I love Vaughn very much, but I am in no way sexually attracted to Vaughn at all. So like that doesn't play into our moments of being intimate with one another either. It's more, like I said, exploratory, but almost also like, because we're both people who enjoy like stories, oftentimes we'll bring like personas of like fictional characters into that space because it's more comfortable to explore through the lens of someone outside of myself, as opposed to like me, Allyn, having a sexual experience, me taking on the persona of a fictional character, then having that sexual experience is more interesting and more comfortable for me.
So when did roleplay become a part of your experience together? Was it early on?
I think, there's always an aspect of it that was like a more comfortable vehicle for sexual experiences. And like, I think part of it was like, again, it's more comfortable to think about it as like someone outside of myself. Because I think the moment that I start thinking about myself in that situation, it starts to become a little more uncomfortable. And I think less so now that it's something that's we've had more regular experiences with. But definitely like at the beginning, that was just something that would, I think, like completely ruin the mood for me.
And do you engage in this this type of role play way of doing this because that's your way of like kind of meeting Vaughn halfway, or is that something that you guys have just decided in your partnership that's what you're doing, or is that something just that's really for you?
I think it's like a mutual comfort for the both of us. I know Vaughn has a different relationship and experience with sex than I do. So I think there are like some other things at play there, but we're also like both Ace and Aro in a way that's very compatible. So this feels, I think, it's just become the natural way that we engage with sex and being physically intimate in like a very specific way with each other, because it's bringing just like another thing that we enjoy into the space, less so to like escape from ourselves, but it's like I am more interested in seeing a sexual scenario play out between these two characters, and you also are interested in seeing that, and that is more compelling to me than like either of us doing it with each other.
I think that makes sense. I mean, it reminds me of, and you know, you can tell me if I'm way off base with this, but it kind of reminds me of my wife's experience with smut. Like she, now my wife is gray Ace, right? So it's different. There's definitely like every, I would say 3 to 6 months,
Right.
she's hyper interested in something sexual. But I would say like she read 200 more than just under or just over 250 books last year.
Wow.
And in the last 4 years, that's the same. That she's always at about a minimum of 250. And part of that is escapism because of her chronic illness.
Right.
And smut adds to that. So it's like interesting because for some people it would make you feel a little bit too much in your body. Like feeling turned on, feeling excited, all of these things. But for her, it's still escapism because she's putting herself in the role of some character.
Right.
And at times that can be difficult because I am not a role play person. And so there's like, I'm trying to meet her halfway by, or Jana and I are trying to meet her halfway by getting there with her. So sometimes she'll just say like, well, I actually wanted to, take care of myself. So I did. And we're bummed because we're like, we would have loved to have been a part of that experience, since it only happens once in a blue moon. But at the same time, sometimes that's the thing, is she just kind of wants to like be in her own world. So it's like, I think that like that experience of like, there's been some things that I've kind of suggested to her. It was like, we can try this maybe with someone else who might be really good at it, like if that's something that you want to explore more of. And it's not a front priority. It's not like at the forefront of her brain, and it's not at the forefront of ours. So it's not something, it's something we've tossed around for probably a year and a half. I'm sure, I hope, and I'm sure that it will happen eventually, but it's like, it's just not a priority because sex isn't a priority.
Right.
It's not a necessity the way that it is for me.
Yeah.
And seeing her kind of like have the ability, thank God for Smut, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm so thankful for Smut, and I'm so thankful that she's able to like read at the capacity that she is. Because it really does help get her out of her pain in her body.
Yeah.
So I can in some ways understand and relate to that that kind of like experimental escapism.
Yeah. I think it's been kind of interesting as like Vaughn and I have sort of navigated that space, because I think there are times where arousal is the priority and like having a physical experience is the priority. And then there are times where we just kind of like want to explore the relationship dynamics between the two characters, and maybe like the physicality of it isn't so important. So like finding the language to sort of differentiate between the two, like, okay, are we going into this because we want to have a physically intimate experience with each other, or are we going to this because we just want to tell a story? And like finding the ways to like communicate that with each other has been something that I think has been more of a struggle, because so many times the sex aspect of it isn't the priority.
Yeah.
But we both struggle with this kind of like internalized sense of like, well, if we're going to like be physically intimate with one another, then it must lead to orgasm because that's what we're supposed to want. I think for me, that's the way that like my autistic brain works. Sometimes it's like, I'm supposed to want this thing, therefore I will convince myself that that is what I want, or like push towards that goal, even though that's not necessarily what I want or what I'm enjoying about the experience.
We go on that cycle a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife, Erica, is very, very autistic. And so like that is very much a part of her experience as well. It's like, and
it's a very also like socialized female thing to absorb.
Oh, 1,000,000%. I mean, I think we all have to battle with that in some way, right? But that like that type of like black and white sort of thinking, or that way of like meeting the goal, it's so easily translated that way. And so yeah, I agree. It's oof. And the tears that have been shed, when that has not been met because of nerve damage, whatever it is. It's hard. And I think like some of the biggest work Erica and I have done in our relationship was, we can just play. Like it doesn't have to end
exactly
in this way. But it's so hard when you have one partner who's literally just and it's there, and then you have another partner that it takes a lot of work. It's just it's a stark comparison, and it's hard not to do that comparison.
I know like it can be tricky for Vaughn and I sometimes, because I think especially for Vaughn there has to be like a particular intentionality for like, are we doing this or are we not doing this?
Sometimes it's helpful to
which
know.
can sometimes like be difficult to navigate within the structure of different characters' personalities or different characters' anatomies if we're not if we're playing as characters who don't necessarily have the same plumbing that we do.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part we just kind of like ignore that, or it's like, congratulations, you're trans now. Boom. Which is also a lot of fun.
I love that. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I relate to that highly with Jana and I, because Jana and I are both, well, we're all kind of on the non-binary spectrum, but
Yeah.
like, I'm more mask leaning and Jana is more femme leaning, but we're both non-binary, and it's like, we 100% have like, I call myself a switch because more so in my sexual relationship with Jana, there's been more of a spiritual switch. Like, there are moments that I'm like, oh, you're topping me now. Oh, wait, never mind. I'm a power bottom. You know, like, there's just like, we're just totally swapping. And then like, it's interesting. You were saying sometimes we have to get on the same page. There are moments that I think that like, okay, we're both in the mood. We're both about to do something. We're doing something. Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? And then eventually it's like, oh, that's not what I want right now. This is, I want to be this version of Jess, and I want this language to be used about my body. And I need to lean in this way. And, you know, Jana's like Jana's so demi that she's very, very like compatible. Like, she'll just like kind of work with what you need as a partner, which I think is so beautiful and sweet. And then it's like, okay, trade. What do you need? You know, like, what can we do for you now?
Yeah.
But it's nice because sometimes, you know, she might be missing the experience of being a bit more top energy, or a bit more, because she hasn't had that with Erica in a few months or whatever. And then she gets to do that with me, and it's like, oh, that was nice. I'm not missing that anymore. You know?
Yeah.
And so, and like, we're always missing Erica. That's not a question. But we've just, if that balance of like what we expect or what we need, you know, like, I related to that a lot.
Yeah. I think that's been just like a central conversation of like unpacking what we've been told by society we should want, but then also like learning what it is that we want to get out of the experience, if that's something that we want to engage in. And also like feeling like maybe we don't have to all the time too. Like, and it doesn't have to be like 50-50, like I give you and then you give back to me. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I've satisfied you and now like you have to do the same thing for me. And it doesn't have to be that way. It can be whatever it is that we need at the time.
That's such a big growth moment for any relationship, I think. And for any person, you know, to like get to that point. Because I think it's almost full circle, because like you said earlier, those of us that were socialized as women, we were taught that we're just supposed to take care of our spouse, or let's be honest, our husband. You know, we're just supposed to take care of them, and like to 100% our detriment. And we've watched friends, you know, like be in really, really uncomfortable, almost abusive scenarios without even realizing that that's what's happening. And the partner doesn't even realize, right? And that's how much that has like poorly affected so many folks. And yet we get to come around, okay, we've independent, our satisfaction matters, our pleasure matters, our joy matters, we're coming back around, and all of a sudden it's, we can just take care of you, babe. That's okay. And it is healing. It's healing to kind of have this like full you know, like moment of, oh, this is how we do this in a healthy way.
That's not been so much my struggle, but definitely for Vaughn, given some of the things that he experienced, which is his story to tell, so I'm not going to get into it.
Of course.
But just the as a result, like I'm very sensitive to, I don't want you to feel forced. I don't want you to feel rushed. I don't want you to feel like you're obligated into anything that we bring into this space. And I think it's been really like it makes me feel happy to see him being comfortable. Like, can we just do me or can we just do you? Because that's like some of that, bringing some of that healing into the space of feeling comfortable not being pulled by this scenario and actually being like, this is what I want. This is what I don't want. This is what I think I can articulate what I need.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
All right, listener, it's time for a bedtime story. I am going to tell you about the patreon.com/queer consciousness podcast Patreon tiers. And we are going to go on a little adventure. The first part of adventure starts at the $5 community support tier. This tier is going to help us pay for things like the podcast feed and the Zoom membership so that we can record, because we apparently need money in a capitalistic society, and this is how we do this, and your support means the absolute world. As a community support member, you will get access to Kit's blogs for every guest, where I share my thoughts on our conversations that I didn't get to say in the actual conversation. But I have a lot of thoughts, and they are written down, and you can go and read all of them. Once we get to patrons at this level, we are going to add a monthly hangout on Zoom with me and Jess and the other members of the community. And you will also get to watch the video as well as hear a Patreon exclusive chat that we save for after the episode. And you'll get a shout out at the intro for the episode of joining. The next part of our adventure is the producer tier. This is the salary tier. When you sign up for this tier, everything goes straight to Jess to compensate them for the work that they do on the pod. This is one of the next steps in how we can not only support our community, but also be a part of this capitalistic place, because that's what we have to do. At this level, you will get all of the things from the community support tier, as well at the end of every episode, you will get a credit as a producer, because by supporting this podcast at the producer tier, you are getting a producer credit. And then the next step in our adventure is the $25 patron tier. And this is a investment in not only us as the podcast, but also in our community. That fund will be used to support our queer community, as well as members of our podcast community and other endeavors that are voted on by the members of the Patreon. We also have the videos from season 6 that you can watch in the Patreon, and I did a blog post for all of those as well. So you can read those as well as all of the blog posts from season 7. We have a bunch more ideas that we will be posting as we start doing more push goals. So go check it out, and thank you so very much for supporting us. Now, a brief word from our sponsors.
You know, some of our guests have talked about everyone's definition has been a little different and a little the same at the same time. Yep. Intimacy, you know, is defined so differently. Sometimes I will just say, when I need something or I want something, what I really know I want is intimacy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I ask for.
Mm-hmm.
I just say, can we possibly have some intimacy tonight? Maybe it's sexy snuggles. Maybe it's, and I define that as slightly naked, maybe some humping snuggles. And it might be I just fall asleep and it was great. You know what I mean? And we got that. I felt wanted and I felt desired. And that was what I maybe needed. You know what I mean? And then half the time it does lead to a happier, different ending. But all of it's happy endings. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I don't know. Intimacy to me is defined so differently to different people. Like, I don't know. Erica often will be like, I want to be held. I just want pressure. I just want pressure here. And sometimes she just wants to be wanted. Like, she's so funny. She'll come out and she like flashes me every day of our lives. That's just what she does. And And every time it's like she wants that switch to be the thing that flips on every time. Like, let's do this. Are we doing this? And I'm like, that's unfair to me, babe. Like,
That's so funny.
you're like, it's not something that's going to happen every time. So you cannot expect me to have the flip switch, you know what I mean? The switch flipped and just be like, boom, I'm ready. Because that's going to turn to resentment. So let's not do that every time. But I have to like also be a little bit more open to like those moments of like when she does it and like, what you looking for? Like be playful with her and stuff. So, but yeah, for me, sometimes I need a little more black and white sometimes, kind of the way you're talking about, Vaughn. Like sometimes I feel like I need an answer of like, are you looking for something? Or do you just want a little bit of attention right now?
Yeah, I know the ambiguity does not sit very comfortably for him for a number of different reasons. And it doesn't really sit comfortably for me either, but I think I'm a little more comfortable with it. Like with something starting as something and then moving into something else without necessarily talking about it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think for him, he needs to, okay, what is it that we're looking for here? Are we looking for the happy ending? Are we just trying to like cultivate intimacy through
Connection.
like physical touch? Are we like what is the goal here? Because he will very easily like jump to the conclusion of I need to be prepared to do like all this, the other thing. It's like, all right, let's stop the overthinking. Let's stop the putting up standards because you don't know what. Let's set our expectations very clearly here.
We're drawn to each other, right? Us neurospicy folks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Especially
Absolutely.
well, it's like from what I'm gathering, a lot of times, and this is something that's been brand new for me because I'm still unpacking a lot of my own sexual trauma of just being raised in purity culture and all of that.
Oh,
and then
yes.
also figuring out that I am on the ACE spectrum, which I did not realize until I started to unpack a lot of the other stuff that I was going through. And I was like,
Because it can be so hard to tell, right?
well, right, and that's the thing is, I was like, and I've said this in a previous conversation where I was like, I was performing sex every time I would do it because I was like, oh, so this is what you do when you have sex is you do this and then you do this and then you do this and then I need to go through my checklist. I need to make sure that like we do this and we do it for this amount of time. And then after we have reached this amount of time, we can go to the next level. And then once we have reached that level, we can then explain this. And it's just like, it's that very autistic, very logical, very
It's like looking at their
step-by-step.
journal.
Right.
Kids
yeah,
like,
no, exactly.
Kids like opening up
I was
their
like,
journal
oh
on the
shit, I missed
side.
a step. Hold on. We have to go back. We have to go back.
But I'm laughing because part of this is so relatable.
Right. That's the thing is like because of that.
And you're
so-
telling me this, and I'm like, that's so autistic ace of you to just be thinking of it in that way.
Right, exactly. And so it's very interesting for me to hear someone talk about it, to be like, yeah. And so when we do have these open communications and we are allowed to say, no, this is what I want and this is how I want to play it, because it's legitimately an experiment and it's an experience where I can be like, I don't have to necessarily feel like myself doing this thing. I can put on a mask that is very comfortable for me to put on because I am acting as someone else while also getting the benefit of physically being able to have this release. And one of the things that I have always been fascinated with is just our brain and our neurochemistry and the fact that like when you are going through something as a person, 9 times out of 10, your brain can't tell the difference between real or fake. So when it comes to like doing scene work or even like, I mean, I'll use the example of me playing D&D. When I am playing as my D&D character, my brain doesn't know the difference between me playing as the character versus me playing as myself. And so the lines kind of blur, and that's where you kind of end up projecting yourself onto your D&D character. Whereas when you're talking about it from like more of like a sexual aspect, it's like I am still going through this actual physical act where it's my body doing the things. I am having the chemical releases. I am having all of the things. It is my physical body going through it. But you can also kind of like take yourself out of it a little bit.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. Because
Well,
you're
you're-
doing it, but now you're not actually doing it.
When we were talking to
You got it.
when we were talking to Killian about, you know, kink and pony play and stuff, I saw your eyes kind of light up for a minute because it was that we were talking about the relation to D&D, and I think like you're kind of drawing those, like we can kind of draw the connections of the dots right now, because that's that ability to disconnect, and hearing you, Allyn, say so specifically, like this is how we engage
It's like
in
the
sex.
like depersonalizing the sexual experience makes it more enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting, because our guest Killian was talking about how, yes, he can play that way, and it's okay when he puts himself in that headspace. But really, his enjoyment of sex comes because he's demi, comes from emotional connection, and I'm the same way. I'm demi as well, and so for me, like my spirit has to be in it for my body to engage. And that's been one way that, like, in some ways, my wife Erica and I are super compatible, because she likes patterns, and she likes, like you were talking about, like this is how it is done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't grow tired of that. I don't grow tired of like, and this is the pattern. And yet the part that makes us a little disconnected sometimes, or not disconnected, it's just different, is that for me, I'm deeply in it because spiritually I'm deeply in it, right? Whereas her, she's like fully just, let's do this, like physically, like we're, and I've been so thankful for Jana joining our relationship, because Jana can meet us both halfway in that middle ground. You know, and it's been 5 years since Erica and I have had sex one-on-one, because when the sex does happen, it's the three of us. At least when it happens with Erica, right? Because it's really about, okay, because of the timing of things. Like, well, if someone's going to get to have experience, and I'm open, like I've traveled a little bit more recently, and I've said like, hey, y'all are married now, like like. We're married. Like, if you guys wanted to try and do something together, just you two, that's totally, like, that's chill. I'll probably have to process some emotions, but like that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You know? And I'd love to be kept in the loop, you know? But it's just so interesting to think about it. I haven't really thought about it too much. Every now and then it pops up into my head and I go, oh my gosh. Like, it's been a while since it's just been, because we've got such a good system. And part of that system, quote unquote, that is very affirming of me, has been this, like, I've transitioned in the last 5 years in terms of like presenting more mask, growing a beard. There's just not feeling connected to my chest in the same way. And so, whereas my wife Erica loves the feminine figure, really does, and yet I can't feel super comfy with her interactions in that way with my body sometimes. So we've had to kind of like, okay, well, you can absolutely have the quote unquote boobies from Jana, because she's comfy with that. Like, she's comfy with that interaction and enjoys that interaction and celebration of her feminine figure. Me, I'll do some of the hard work down here. That's cool. I'm enjoying that. That's fine. And that is that is like been a really good way of us like finding this balance. And we couldn't have done that otherwise. It felt like there was a point where I was kind of like staying in a form in order to help, in order to like be something that my wife wanted. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I didn't realize I was doing that. It wasn't intention. I don't think it was like super intentional, but I looking back, I know that's what I was doing.
I can definitely relate to some of that experience a little bit, partially because Vaughn is demi. and I am not. So when you're talking about some of these experiences that you're having as like a demi person and wanting to like connect on a spiritual level, like I see some of that in the way that like Vaughn interacts with me. And I think we've been able to be at like a very compatible level of it. So it's been more me being like, are you sure you're enjoying yourself just doing stuff for me? And he's like, yeah, I'm having a great time. And I'm
Same.
like, this does
Same.
not compute. But if
Literally.
you say so. And then the other thing is like talking about physicality and specifically like related to your chest, which I no longer have. But when Vaughn and I were initially dating and like started doing this, I did have my chest still. And it was something that Vaughn also appreciated about me, because he was like, you have really nice boobs. And I'm like, I'm glad you feel that way. And I didn't know at the time how bad my chest dysphoria was. So this was something that we were then like, as I was realizing it, and I was like, hey, Vaughn, I think I want to get top surgery. I think this is something that's going to be very helpful for me. And him having the processing moment of like, I do like your boobs, but I think I will like you being comfortable a lot more. And
That processing took time for Erica.
yeah.
And now she's like, so when are we doing it? When are you doing it? When you doing it? And I'm like, stop pressuring me. Like I'm it's not
I think I was more worried about it than Vaughn was.
Yeah.
I conversely, I also really like boobs, just not when they're on me.
Yes. Fair.
So, and Vaughn is pretty comfortable with his chest. He also has a very nice chest. So whenever he's like changing into like his pajamas or something, takes off his bra, I just very intentionally look because it's a nice view. And then he'll laugh at me because I'm looking because it's a nice view. When I had a chest, I did enjoy nipple play quite a bit.
Okay.
Because it was just nice and felt stimulating. But then came the question, do I keep my nipples when I get top surgery?
Ah, yes.
Because my gender ideal has always been like very androgynous. And there's like a very particular type of just like smooth chest, no nipples that was always very appealing to me. So I'm like, what if I don't keep my nipples after I get top surgery? What does that look like? Specifically in the one when I'm in the bedroom, how does that play out? And I had to have the conversation with myself. Do I literally keep my nipples just because I want to have this sexual experience? Even knowing that it may not actually heal in the same way. And I might actually never get to have that experience again.
Right.
And I mean, I ended up deciding not to keep them. And I honestly have no regrets about that. But it was a very weird moment for me to be like having this conversation with myself.
As an ace person.
How important my nipples
Right. Yeah.
were.
Right.
As an ace person. I mean,
Right,
like
especially. Yeah.
Yeah.
like to me, that's what's interesting about that, because you basically just told the story that I was trying to decide whether or not I would
I had
talk.
a sense.
Yeah, it's, I'm comfortable talking about my nipples in the sense that my nipples are like seriously a huge part of my sexual experience. But I'm closer to post perimenopausal Jess is a little less hypersexual than pre-perimenopausal Jess. But I'm definitely not on the ace spectrum, right? I mean, it's weird because Demi is technically under that umbrella, but
Yep, Demi is on the ace.
yeah,
Is under the ace umbrella.
Right. Which is
am
why I find
a-
it very funny that I am both Demi and Ace. I
yeah,
was like, had to go for both.
I am hypersexual Demi is the better way to describe that. So like,
Yeah, because like
if-
your arousal and your interest in doing things does not necessarily inform your sexual attraction to people.
exactly, and almost vice versa. Like the people that I've been attracted to, there have been times where it's like we are just fully best friends, and then suddenly I'm just like, why? What? Where did that come from? What? Why now? Why do I want to jump your bones now? That's very weird.
I think Vaughn and I had been together for maybe like 3 or 4 years before he ever had feelings of sexual attraction to me.
Yeah.
And it was very weird for him to experience. He was like, what was that? Is that what people mean when they say sexual attraction?
Yeah. That's got to be super. Yeah. As someone, like, I realized that, like, yeah, of course I have a physical type. Like, there are people that I think are hot. But the minute that I meet them, if we are not a soul type, it just turns off. Like, and the reason why I know that is because the one person that I would say that I had a huge crush on, that was celebrity, was someone that I like actually ended up like working with and collaborating with at some point. And the minute that we like started interacting, I was like, oh, friend. And any sort of like thing that I spent hours imagining when I was younger was gone. Like it was completely gone. So it's
the
just
bubble has popped.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It was just like soul connection. Oh, friend energy. Cool. And so, but anyway, for me, going back to, my sexual pleasure, it's been this conversation over and over and over again of like, do we keep them because they serve a purpose that is important to me? Sex is definitely an important aspect of the way in which I connect with definitely both of my spouses, but one of my spouses more regularly. And it is an important part of our recentering with each other in intimacy. And also it's serving the function right now as my dick, which is a really, like, that's the part that I wasn't sure about sharing because it is such, I remember when I first was kind of confused about what was going on with my body. And then I read some articles about phantom limb syndrome and how for trans folks, we're really good at reprogramming our brains to do what we actually want something to feel like. And so, like, if we feel like, okay, well, I do have a chest, or, if I'm, say, as like trans women, and I don't have this other piece of myself, or I am, wanting, like, for me, I've never really had a desire for anything like bottom surgery. I actually do like my body for the most part for being a very curvy human. I don't feel a lot of dysphoria, but then there is moments where it's like, well, you're interacting with me and I feel interacted with, like, this is my chest, and that is not correct. Like, that these are boobs. No, they are not boobs. This is my chest. And I also like the smooth look. So if I were to ever get rid of them, that would be the direction I would go as well. So it's kind of like, it's because the truth is I'm so big that if I were to get nipples, it would be very much a cosmetic thing. And not something that would be able to stay connected to nerve endings that would function the same way.
It would be double incision, which is also what I had.
Yeah. Why is it that those of us that are trans are always big? Like, in some way, shape, or form. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
I've seen so many videos about that.
I wasn't
trans
even,
masks who are.
I didn't really feel like my chest was that big. I think, though, once I actually, I had a very wide set chest, so it didn't come off as looking very large. And then I remember measuring myself at a point, and on the chart, it was like, you're a double D. And I just had an intense wave of dysphoria just putting the numbers on it, even though that's not what my chest looked like.
Or felt like, It's wild. Yeah.
And that was the downward spiral into chest surgery.
Oh, yeah. I bet it's like, what actually. So my thing that I feel the most dysphoric in is video call. Like, as much as I do so many video calls. But like when I get on FaceTime with my siblings and it's vertical, that's why I pretty much avoid vertical calls. It's like all of a sudden I see myself.
Oh, yeah.
The way that other people see me. And as someone who's really, really comfy in my own skin, it is such a confusing and disconcerting feeling to be like, oh, like, it's not even nearly the same bad experience as when someone, misgenders me or whatever. These are all things I'm used to, and I just kind of attribute to my voice, which I love my voice. And then I'll see myself in a vertical thing, and like not even like a mirror, because I like the way I look in a mirror, but like a vertical video, and I'm just like, whoa, that is huge. That is huge. Why does it takes up so much space?
Camera lenses do something to our perception as well.
Yeah, and so that was just like, that was hard. But yeah, because we've kind of created a pattern, Jana and I, of like, she's pan, and so she primarily had been with AMAB cis dudes. She had dated a trans woman briefly, but there was like there's this understanding and experience of how to interact with someone who's masked, and enjoying that Erica doesn't have, or doesn't want to have. Right, this isn't like a desire she has.
Right.
And so although she likes my aestheticness of my beard, she doesn't want it anywhere like on her body because of overstimulation. And so there's this like kind of like balance of like, Jana helps to make me feel actually masculine in certain ways. I have no desire to be perceived as man, but masculine.
You get more masculine feedback that validates the way that you want to feel in a masculine sense, as opposed to getting like the feminine feedback that makes you feel feminine in a way that is uncomfortable.
Say it again. I'm probably gonna play that over multiple times when I'm editing it. I was like, amen. Preach.
Well, back in church, it's okay.
Yeah. Jana gives your brain the masculine brain scritches.
Yes. Yeah.
That's an excellent way to put it.
It is. And it's like, it's, and then there are ways, of course, that my wife, Erica, makes me feel safe, or makes me feel like cared for in ways that maybe that's not necessarily Jana's gifting. And so like, that's the beauty of polyamory, is that I'm getting those things.
This podcast is hosted by me, Kit Sargent, co-hosted and produced by Jess Grace Garcia of Springward Productions, and the theme music is by Brian Smith of Holy Holy Music Productions. If you could do us a huge favor and please like, follow, comment, share, do all of the things on all of the socials. You can follow the podcast on Instagram @_queer.consciousness for all the latest episodes, as well as any other exciting news. When you're listening on Spotify, please leave a 5-star rating and use the comment box for anything you'd like us to talk about. When you're listening to Apple Podcasts, please leave a comment and a 5-star rating. If you'd like to be on the podcast, send a message to queerconsciousnesspod@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/queerconsciousnesspodcast. We are trying to grow as organically as possible, and this helps other like-minded people who want to empower and encourage others on their journey. So until next time, remember to stand in your truth and know that you are worthy, just as you are. Hey friend, just wanted to take a quick second to remind you that if you or someone you know is struggling and don't know where to turn, the trained volunteers at the LGBT National Hotline are here to help. Because sometimes the strongest thing to do is to ask for help. The National Hotline phone number is 888-843-4564. And if you want to check out the other things that they have available for them to help you with, you can check out the lgbthotline.org in order to be able to see all of the services that they offer in order to help our community.